Well, hello there. We're on the precipice of the new moon in Pisces, and I will be making my usual video for that with the chart. But today I really wanted to hunker down and understand a bit about Neptune and the coming passage of Neptune from Pisces to Aries, which is happening in March. It's a big deal because Neptune hangs around in a sign for a generation. It can hang around for 11 years. It can be up to 16 years in one sign. And so because Neptune deals with our ideals, the side of us that touches the mystic, the side of us that sees what's possible, the side of us that grapples with what's real with versus what's a fantasy. That is deeply impactful on our cultural landscape. So we're going to take a quick look at what Neptune and Pisces brought, and maybe you can see when we talk about the time frames, how that's played out in this generation that is closing. And then we're going to take a look at how Neptune is going to impact the generation to come and what we will strive for, idealize, and where our blind spots might be. It's going to color everything. You know, when an ideal, think about it, let's say a beauty ideal. If we turn back the clock a century ago, the clothing's different, the body types are different, the behaviors are different. And whatever is considered ideal is coveted, and there will be all kinds of things written about them. They will be the leading characters in our films, and they will color the music we listen to. They will decide who's viable and who's not viable to hire or to marry, or products will be, of course, made, designed, sold all around these ideals. So it's a big deal when our cultural ideal shift landscape. So we're going to take a look at that today. So first, let's just do a little dive into Neptune and Pisces. And first of all, what even is Neptune? So Neptune is, Poseidon. It's the god of the sea. You see the trident and the long beard and the, half sea creature, half human that is this god. And it's the subtlety of the water when you talk about Neptune. It's not so much, huge, clear, crashing waves and tsunamis coming towards you. It's a little more about Pisces because Neptune rules Pisces. So it's the subtle. It's the dreaminess. It's sort of like seeing a cloud go by and like, I think I saw a face in that cloud, or did I? That's Neptune. Now, sometimes you did clearly see a face. Sometimes there was a mystical experience, a spiritual experience. Other times you might be craving, you might be desiring something and wanting it so bad that you are forcing it to happen. So Neptune is very much about like, is it me? Did it really happen? Or was it in my head? And that's why Neptune is such a tricky planet, because you can at times touch true inspiration and divinity, mysticism, which is all real. But the thing is, it's not real all the time, right? How do we know? How do we know the real experiences from the imaginary, from the escapist, from the longing, craving for? It's very tricky terrain, Neptune. And it's been in the sign of Pisces from 2011 all the way up to, well, actually, it's going to retrograde. So it will make a final passage and finish in January of 2026. But for the most part of this year, it's entering Aries from March 30th, 2025 to October 21st, 2025. We have the first pass in Aries. So we're about to see what this is about. Then it's going to retrograde from January 26th sorry, from October 22nd, 2025, and it will go into Aries on January 26th of 2026. What a tongue twister. And it will stick around until, I believe, let me just get my dates right. It will stick around until, wow, March 2039. This is an extraordinarily long passage then. All right. So you see how this is going to be important. So just try to imagine 2011 to 2025. It's the last 14 years. Try to see whether this feels like it makes sense as a theme, or in terms of our cultural ideals, our expectations, what we value. So it says here, and I'm reading off of cafeastrology.com, which is just an excellent resource, excellent teaching resource if you want to learn astrology. And it says, your vision of an ideal world may center around compassion, mercy, empathy, service, sacrifice, intuition, artistry, and spirituality. We can certainly see that in the last 15 years. The Neptune sign position is especially sensitive, intuitive, and imaginative. It can also be rather escapist. It's probably best to watch for avoidant behavior, since you can be quite comfortable in the non-material world. You are capable of great devotion when you believe in something, and your dreams know few bounds. So let's just take one example of how Neptune and Pisces make sense in this last chapter. I'm not going to cover 15 years of events, but let's just take COVID, for example. So we had profound, in my opinion, profound emotional, psychological damage from this period, right? I hope we can all agree on this. It cut us off from family, friends. It's polarized people. It's Piscean in the sense that everybody was very, very sensitive and nervous about what was happening. Again, Pisces, what's real, what's not? Conspiracies. Are they really conspiracies? Are they real? I don't know. What do you believe is happening? What do you think's really happening? What's going on behind the scenes? Flights of fancy, some of it, a lot of what was going on is paranoia, and some of it is real. And I'm not here to say which is real and which isn't. That's for you. But that's been a huge theme with COVID. What's real, what's not? And the escapist factor, and as it says, be careful of avoidant behavior because you're comfortable in the non-material world. So not wanting to deal with like people having less attention span, they can't concentrate, can't listen as well, they can't converse, it's harder socially to look people in the eye, or to like the customer service factor, or because people are just like, oh, that's part of the escapism thing. Don't want to deal with it. It's too hard. It's stressing me out. It's giving me panic, anxiety. I don't want to. And so avoiding and retreating into the screen, retreating into your music, retreating into your, your hermit behavior, or for some people, it's retreating into their drinking, their smoking, their eating, whatever they're doing to run away. So we definitely see that. The other thing is compassion, mercy, empathy, service. So on the good side of things, obviously there's, many people in the healing community would agree that they are burnt out from the years of constant giving and empathy with the level of need that was rising. And again, the level of escapism rising and the level of need that people have, and the difficulty confronting reality. And then the needs again are greater for people to have to heal and get their lives on track. At the same time, you can see the themes of compassion and mercy with perhaps issues of exile, issues of immigration, of accepting and integrating people from all over the place who have, gone through tragedies in their own countries, And again, we're seeing backlash. And again, this is part of, I think, the emerging Neptune in Aries is the backlash towards, has it gone too far? You could argue that wokeism could be part of the Neptune and Pisces phase as well, 2011 to 2015. Again, where, and I'm not weighing in on which is, there's shades of gray to all of this, but some people are going to say it's gone too far. There's too much sort of bleeding for everybody's everything, and there's no efficiency or there's no discernment going on. It's just, give anybody a job, whether they're qualified or not, because poor them. Or, like there's extremes of like people, wanting to be acknowledged for whatever they've lived through and wanting compassion for that, which is of course healthy. But at the same time, have we tipped a threshold with how much of that we can really do, or how many people we can do this for, or have we been of service to help people heal from it, or are we just encouraging more of another type of escapism from dealing with their realities? It's murky terrain that we've all been dealing with for years. Neptune in Pisces is not for the faint of heart. So let's take a look now at what's coming with Aries, because it's a distinctly different flavor. So, all right. We're going to see Neptune arrive into Aries March 30th. So, we've got sort of a month to wrap your head around this. And it will retrograde in October of this year. It'll go back into Aries in January of 2026 and last up until March 23rd, 2039. So again, I'm going to read from Cafe Astrology's site because they just say it so well, and then I will expand on it. So here we go. While Neptune is in Aries, we idealize independence. Think how huge that is from, oh, come on in the door. Oh, poor you. Here, come and have a cup of tea. I'll save you. I'll take care of you. Now it's going to be like, well, do it yourself. You're on your own, baby. Pick up your socks. That's giant right there. While Neptune is in Aries, we also idealize bravery and courage, freedom and fresh starts. Talk about a huge cultural shift. Now, you can find that scary, or you can find that really invigorating and liberating. If we start encouraging more independence, it sort of cleans up a lot of things in our lives, doesn't it? I will also admit there are areas of my life where maybe I was also defaulting to like asking for help instead of like, well, just learn to do it yourself. Do I have to, I sat there and I went, do I have to pay all this money to massage therapy, even though it's wonderful? Not really. I could just be more disciplined about stretching and moving my own body, right? So there's lots of things with independence that come up. It's also even talking about maybe, I don't know, it's so vast. Courage and bravery as an ideal is an interesting thing too, okay? We haven't seen that in a long time, right? Pisces is usually much more like sort of retreating and maybe a little more like, again, saving people and, there for looking at their inner world and helping, like trying to facilitate people who might not really be connected to the world in some ways. And now you're saying courage and bravery. So you're bringing it back very much into like the warrior spirit, getting yourself fit, getting your mind clearer to the point where you're even going to take a courageous or brave action. But that's exciting. If you have been feeling any kind of stuck, trapped, whatever, stagnant, this is excellent. Okay. So hopefully we start to see around us. We will probably first start to see it represented in our films and our music, because that's sort of where things start to trickle down. You'll probably see a lot more movies and songs about taking action, walking away, doing spontaneous stuff, having the guts to just pick up and move on, start a new life, freedom and fresh starts, quitting your job, starting a new career, walking away from a crowd that doesn't fit you anymore, having the guts, having the guts to say, no, I don't want this anymore. And you break out of the muddy fogginess of Pisces and Neptune. And now it's going to be a different kind of idealism, but this one, it can bring us into a lot of positive action. It could also, it has backfires too. If you think you're a Superman and you jump off a building and you are not flying, well, that's an idealization as well. Or if we idealize war or soldiers above and beyond, that can have repercussions too. But when it comes to a sense of, for the average person and feeling personally like ready to have a bit of gusto again and take a bit of a risk and feel like you can jumpstart a new life. It's very important right now with what's going on to feel like you still have it in you to do that. Life is not over. You're still here. So it says, however, we might not see ourselves clearly, or we might struggle with defining ourselves and our boundaries during this period. Yes, because Aries is essentially the sign of the self. Anyone that has a wound of self, I don't know who I am. Well, we come out of Neptune and Pisces, a time of giving and service, which is lovely. But have you lost yourself? Have you been adapting and giving people what they want, whether it's your family, socially, your customers, your boss? Have you been so tuned into what others need and giving it that you've lost you? That's going to be a huge theme. And so as you try to reclaim yourself and you do some maybe brave acts or spontaneous things to try to reclaim, this is who I am. I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to, I feel alive when I do that. I think that's me. I'm going to go do that. And Aries is usually just sort of jump in first and think later. But if you don't know yourself, maybe you've jumped once again into the wrong pond. That's what we're going to see, a lot of sort of around and find out kind of energy. We might also inflate our importance in times of insecurity, which can be quite detrimental. Yes. This leads into the whole narcissism theme again. We're not done with it. We're still learning. A lot of us have learned. A lot of us can see through it, and we know better how to deal with it, but it's still a cultural lesson that's being learned because there's lots of people still don't see through it. So inflating our importance when we're insecure. I won't even bring up who's a perfect example of that, but there's many. So we have to be careful of that on a personal level. If you're not feeling secure, that you don't start aggrandizing yourself, because again, there's real narcissists out there. And then there's the average person who, when you feel slighted and instead of, withdrawing and feeling bad and sad and how come nobody sees me, you might be tempted during Neptune and Aries to go, no, you're not treating me right. I'm actually really good at that. And then people around you are sort of going, no, not really. And now you've embarrassed yourself. That's one possible way. So presenting false images of ourselves that we may end up identifying with can be especially tempting. So what would be the most common false image during an Aries period would be to present yourself as more independent, free, brave, gutsy, warrior-like, spontaneous, just I'm doing me, than you actually are. You know, true Aries, they are that. Other signs, they can be that. Others, and then others of us, we are just not. We're not that. So like if you see, you know, we might see more sort of false bravado kind of things, or people trying to prove something that isn't them. And eventually we will come to see, like, there'll probably be a lot of people that jump on those bandwagons, and we'll see some hero figures, you know, sort of rise, and like new stars and new people were like, wow, this guy, that girl, wow, you know, emerge, which are based on new ideals because they're representing something that we think is like so just fresh and gutsy and all that. But if they're not truly that, then they're going to have a crash and burn like a lot of celebrity does, you know. But so again, the overall message is to find yourself, not to try to, you know, merge yourself into what you think is the cultural ideal if it's not truly you. But, you know, the overall energy of a fresh start is a lovely thing. But make the fresh start perhaps about a discovery of who am I really? You know, like I wish sometimes I was that person that was like bouncing out of bed early in the morning, making my coffee, get my errands done, out the door, go for a run. Hey, so and so, you know, like whatever, like some sort of chipper exercise person who's like extroverted and all that stuff. Yeah. Sometimes I think, wouldn't it be great if I was like that? But I'm not her. I've never been that. Never. I can, you know, I don't bounce out of bed early ever. You know, I function better at night. And the outgoing side comes and goes because it's not like you can turn on a dial and constantly be on the same volume, you know. And a lot of like the Aries Neptune thing is going to be like, oh, you have to always be like happy and charged and on and in control, and I'm going to go do this, and I'm this big loud funny person, and I'm always that way, and look at me. And you know, if you're not that, then don't mold yourself into that. But if this energy in the air and there's more people out there expressing it, well, you're going to feel a boost of energy in that. You know, even the most introverted person is going to feel like, wow, what's going on? There's all kinds of initiative in the air that I haven't felt in years. So like you can let that help you get closer to what you want to do, your own personal version of a fresh start. But we can't expect ourselves to all, you know, go out there and seem like some sort of, you know, Mission Impossible character or something if that's not who you are. So as we strive toward our ideal of more independence and individualism, we should watch that we don't leave people behind. That's going to be big. Again, that Aries mentality in a sense of like, no, I'm done with that. Cancel. I'm moving on. I'll do it myself. Thanks. Bye. So I don't know whether that'll increase the cancel culture sort of feeling. But a lot of people, like when they make fresh starts, a lot of the time you do feel you need to cut and leave things behind, right? That's just normal. But we also don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like we want to retain the meaningful relationships, even if your friend, let's say, is not ready for this big, bold, fresh start and you are, doesn't mean they're not your friend anymore and you discard them. That's narcissists do that. You know, real friends will readjust and maybe they find they talk about it actually. If they're real friends, they'll talk about it and say, well, you know, you seem to need to go out a lot more and need a lot more people around. I'm not quite ready for that. So maybe we're not in sync. Maybe we can do this together. Maybe it's not as often, you know, but there's no devaluing and discarding going on. There's a discussion. So that's an interesting theme there. The image of a spiritual warrior championing for the vulnerable would be a better theme during this cycle. Well, that would be lovely if we see more of that. Especially in this era where we're coming into clearly of oligarchies, well, we've been there already, but now it's becoming more apparent and clear. Seeing philanthropy, seeing people championing for the vulnerable. Yes, that is wonderful. And that sort of is, in a way, it's a continuation of Pisces' service model. It's just that now we might see some people emerge who actually build the school or buy the land for the people or actually house them or clothe them or give part of their billions to something to build an actual hospital. Or, do you know what I mean? So that is a very hopeful thing. And of course, we're not going to see this across the board, and it's only entering in March. We're not going to see it right away, but this period of time will see more of that in general as we grow into it. And so you can also be thinking of that in your own life in some small way. How could you champion or help people that are more vulnerable than you? It's also a good idea to check in with ourselves to be sure we're not harboring delusions of ourselves and others who we imagine to be courageous and free. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's going to be a big theme, the illusion of freedom and the illusion of courage, like examining what really is courageous, what really is freedom, or what's like a false freedom. You know, we've already gone through this, I don't know, maybe from like the 90s up until 2000s, where this idea of celebrity was sort of debunked. You know, before it was like, ooh, celebrities, right? And then you go through the paparazzi phase, you go through the, you know, Britney Spears nightmare that she went through, Paris Hilton, Princess Diana killed by the paparazzi chase. And, you know, celebrity suddenly doesn't seem so great or so sexy when you see the behind the scenes of what, and now even still, you know, with Kanye and Diddy and all these people being outed for abusing children and stuff. It's like, so celebrity ain't what we think it is, right? So that probably coincided with Neptune and Capricorn, I betcha. But I'd have to really dig into the years. So for now, what we're coming up against then is like the ideal of freedom and courage. Some stuff that we think is courageous isn't. It can just be grandstanding for attention, and it's not really something where there was personal courage involved. And freedom, I think we already know what some of the illusions of freedom are. You know, people think having a lot of money is freedom, but it isn't always. So what is real freedom will be under the microscope. Some other things to watch for would be impatience with things we don't understand or with intricate matters, and being caught off guard by competitors or anger we fail to recognize. Wow, that's chunky. I'm going to read that again. We have to watch for impatience with things we don't understand or with intricate matters, and being caught off guard by competitors or anger we fail to recognize. Okay, well, that's part of the Aries thing as well, the bravado and the, I'm just going to go jump in the lake and do it. Who cares? You know, think about it later, do it now. They're not thinking, oh, so-and-so had a reaction when I said that. Could they possibly be feeling hurt or jealous that I'm taking that action? Could they be feeling left out? If I just go ahead headlong and do this thing I want to do, maybe it's not very considerate of other matters or other people, and so it brings competition, jealousy, anger. Yeah. So in your bold new beginnings, you can still make them, but maybe just don't make them impulsively. The thing that bothers me most in that statement, though, is like impatience with intricate matters. It's true. Aries doesn't want to deal with the details. And that could be very detrimental if people don't want to look at or deal with the details, because the devil is in the details and it will come back and bite us. So for those of you who are detail oriented, we will need you extra during this time. Perhaps there'll be more and more need or jobs, I'm hoping, for people that are detail oriented, because if the general population or trend is that people don't want to deal with it, somebody will have to. So calling you Virgos. Okay, it can be a great time of wonder and impulse. We tend to boldly follow our intuition wherever it leads us. We have faith in our ability to innovate, lead, start anew, and win. That's exciting. It can be a time of decidedly new, exciting, and modern styles in fashion, art, music, and perhaps radical or pioneering changes in beliefs, religion, and philosophy. That's interesting too. Yes. The last time Neptune was in Aries was in the 1800s, but I'm going to check. I'm going to check that exactly, because maybe there can be a parallel with these, with art and innovation. Okay, 1861. Wow. So the American Civil War began. Windmills. Okay. Crusades, rebellions, uprisings. Yeah, we're definitely going to see that. I haven't read the whole article, so I won't bore you while I actually read it. But okay. This is going way back, but it's saying in 432 before Christ, BCE, Neptune was in Aries at the height of the ancient Greek city-states, which were always falling apart. Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta began. Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, a tragedy about fate and free will, was first performed during that time. Yeah. So anyway, as we go on, we're definitely Neptune in Aries is going to bring uprisings, new leaders, and new political movements. Will some of those be healthy? Will some of those be dictators? Gurus? It's possible. And we're ripe for it. We're ripe for it because we've been through this Neptune in Pisces, like, you know, where am I? What's real? For too long, and we've been sort of asleep. And people are going to come along and they're going to, once they start emerging and they seem strong and bold, people will be like, oh, thank God. Thank God somebody is like got the helm. Somebody's actually got the wheel here. And it'll be very tempting to just follow just because somebody is leading. So we have to still be discerning who we follow. But at least, thankfully, new leadership will emerge. We're not just sliding into a stupor or a mud pile here forever. Things do emerge, but right now we're in this weird, sort of where am I stage. And finally, new approaches to spirituality can figure strongly. And compassionate acts can be a goal. Aries is too stern to express itself compassionately, preferring action and revolution to express its care. We're ready to reject and do away with dogma. The need for change and innovation is felt innately and intuitively. So change and innovation, obviously, we're going to see the AI revolution has begun. It's already begun. So we're going to see lots of innovation and revolution coming. And I know a lot of that can sound scary, but it can also be very exciting. It can also move things forward. And we need to be in growth, right? So growth, even if it's scary, to me, is preferable to stagnation and disillusionment and despair. My overall feeling for now, and I'm just sharing my intuition. I'm not saying I'm any kind of expert on navigating the level of change that we're going through, because it hasn't happened in my lifetime to this degree. So I'm new at it too, but I'm just going to share my gut feeling right now is to try to consolidate yourself, to be as true to yourself as you can, to seek assistance if you need to, and reform your activities and your groups around what feels the most true to who you know yourself to be, even if you're still evolving and learning. It's like, really, as much as you can, try to be in alignment with yourself and discern what is in alignment with you. And when you are, you feel more confident, more grounded, more capable, right? And then it starts to become a little easier to know what to do next, what to decide next, and to have the courage to do it. If you feel like you're grasping and not sure and weighing and shooting in the dark, it's not time. It's not time. You need, when you act on something, especially if it's going to be a big change, like, I don't know, moving away or leaving a job, or, you know, detaching from a crowd or whatever. Like, if it's something that's really going to shift your life, you need to feel really sure why you're doing it, and that you're being true to yourself in doing it. Second thing is, and I'm not representing this at all, I know I need to work on it, but I believe what's going to be really important is to, like, mentally, physically get yourself well. So really confronting the ways that during this Piscean sort of thing, you might have given away so much of yourself to others. You might not have been taking care of yourself physically and emotionally and mentally the way you need to. And that's not being selfish, to take care of yourself and to pull back and give yourself what you've needed. You need to be well in yourself to be independent, to have a hope of making a dent or doing something courageous or starting over again. You need to be well for that. And so I'm saying this speaking mainly to other empaths, because usually we've neglected ourselves and lost ourselves in the work somehow or in others. And we need to reclaim and take care of ourselves. And it's not being selfish. So this concludes my little talk on Neptune and Aries for now. I'm sure I'm going to have more to say as it evolves and things start to open up. But Saturn's also moving into Aries in March, and I'm going to make another video about that soon. It's important to understand what Aries brings, because these are long passages of time. And it's also important to take a look where it falls in your particular chart, because it's going to be the area of your life that's accented for a very long time. Imagine 2039. You want to know where Aries is in your chart. So if you want any help with that, I'd love to help you with that. Otherwise, I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll make another one of these with Saturn soon. And the new moon video will also be coming soon. Take care.
connect with spirit and you don't know how. And you've asked yourself, where do I go if you're in Canada? You know, I'm from Montreal originally and traveled US, Canada, and Europe. So I work in